So once the website is live, this is the key part because every other website designer that's out there will go, here's your website, all the best. And this is
Yeah.
where it comes to the tools, the tactics, the training, but the confidence. So tactics, what we instantly do then is we basically plug you into our e-learning platform. So we've got over 80 hours worth of content in the back end. It's called the Boostly Academy. And there's training videos on how to do Facebook, how to post on Instagram, how to actually drive traffic to your website, how to set up email marketing, all those cool things. And even then, once you're in there, if you're not confident with emails, we've actually got templates for you. So this is an
Okay.
email template that you can do. You can send it out to somebody. So whether you're approaching a business because you want to get into the medium term rental world, or even if you want to just send an email out to a past guest to get them to do another booking, we've got all these templates that you can just plug and play with.
Welcome to the Short-Term Rental Solutions Show. I'm your host, Christiane Crump. As a short-term rental host myself, I've decided to roll up my sleeves, make the calls, get educated, and take you with me. You and I are learning together as I have conversations with the innovators that are designing the solutions that are shaping our industry. I'm going to make sure you stay in the know, and we'll uncover the tools and strategies that will help you overcome obstacles, maximize revenue, and optimize your short-term rental business. So buckle up and let's jump in. We are here now with Mark Simpson. You may or may not have met him before or heard of him before, but he's basically the guy that Airbnb doesn't want you to know about. He's written a number of books. He's a frequent speaker at conferences and has his own amazing podcast. So we're so lucky to have Mark here with us today. Thank you so much for joining us, Mark.
No, my absolute pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So, what we're here talking about today with Mark is Boostly. And of course, that's really his niche, and what he's specialized in is helping hosts to get direct bookings for their short term rental business. And Mark, you've actually done a great job educating the industry. I think when you started, people really didn't know as much about direct bookings and the value that could potentially be to their business. But kind of before we jump in too far with Boostly, take us for there's in case there's a couple of people out there yet who by some miracle haven't heard of you yet. We want to make sure that we catch them up and introduce them to you. So just tell us a little bit about how you ended up in this industry and how you ended up deciding to start Boostly.
Yeah. So first and foremost, thank you very much. It's lovely words. Nice to hear. So my story, I'm one of these rare breeds in the world of hospitality, is that I was born into it. Mostly people like pivot into this from another career or fall into it into short-term rentals from somewhere else. I was born into it. I'm from the UK, as you can tell by the accent, and I'm from a little town called Scarborough. It's right up there in the northeast coast, and my town, Scarborough, is part of the Yorkshire coast. And the Yorkshire coast, after London, is the second most touristy visited area in the whole of the United Kingdom, which sounds crazy because obviously there's Edinburgh, there's Manchester, there's Liverpool, Birmingham, but it's our little coast. And because of that, it's very saturated. I always used to joke that 1 in 3 houses it used to be like either a bed and breakfast or a vacation rental or a hotel. And I actually grew up on a farm. It was a 200-acre farm in the middle of nowhere. We're a good 20 minutes from Scarborough. And in the very, very early 90s, my parents made a decision, which was an amazing foresight, to transform this 200-acre farm into a bed and breakfast. So in the 90s, there was a big foot and mouth crisis going through. Farms were going out of business. It was destroying livelihoods. My mom and dad, my dad, like I said, had this amazing foresight to go, right, what are we going to do about this? They pivoted and they brought in this guest house. It was a 5-bedroom guest house. They knocked down the barn. They built on these rooms. And this is before farm stays were popular. Now, everywhere you go around this country and around the world, any farm that you pretty much go to has got some form of like glamping or hospitality or cottages, etc. But this was very early on, and it was really popular. Now, this is before, the internet. This is before social media. This is before Airbnb. So they had to market their business the good old proper way, which was newspaper ads, magazine ads, word of mouth, etc. And it was really popular. And so I was just growing up amongst all of this. I was so used to having strangers in our house the whole time, to the point where I went to go play at friend's house and I was wondering, where is everybody? And yeah, and I'm like 10, 11, 12 now, and I'm growing up. I'm doing breakfast before going off to school. I'm changing beds and doing all of that sort of cool thing before during the summer holidays for pocket money. And then I got to late teens and I realized that I wanted to escape hospitality. I wanted to get out of my little village. I wanted to go and travel. And I had an amazing opportunity to go and coach soccer in America. So from pretty much from 2002 to 2009, every year I'd get my H1 visa and I'd come over to America for 6 months and I'd travel, coach soccer, youth development, loved it. The only problem is that never materialized into a proper green card. So came back to the UK, tail between my legs, wondering what I was going to do next. And then that is when I moved down to London. And that is where I got my experience in sales and marketing. And it was a company I was working for, was called Quip at the time, but then it was bought by Yelp, the big review site. And it was at that company where I really learned about the power of reviews, the power of social media, the power of Google, the power of proper marketing your business. And around that time, I met my now wife, and we had then had our eldest, Alfie. And my parents had the business going on about 25 years. And they were getting to the point in their lives and their career where they wanted to start to slow down, look to maybe sell the business. And I'm the eldest of four. And so they asked us to come into the business, me and my wife, to come into the business and help them run it, to help them potentially exit in a couple of years' time. And my role was to get that business online, because still to that point, they were doing everything with pen and paper. They were
Oh,
using Tipex to know when a guest cancelled or moved the date, etc. So it was very, very archaic. They hadn't evolved it. My mum is not the best at computers, bless her. So much so when she it was really bad at one point. When she typed out an email, she was looking where to stick the stamp. So, so that's how bad it was at that point. And so I basically came into it to help get it online. I got it on all the social medias. I got them on TripAdvisor. We got listed on Booking.com, and we helped design a website. We build out emails, and we took that offline word of mouth and we put it online, and it worked really well. Within 18 months, we were the most recommended business on TripAdvisor. This is like 2013 when TripAdvisor was a thing. Our
wow.
social media following was the largest in our local area. And our direct bookings were heavily and nicely sat, always between 65 and 80%, and then around about 20, 35% from third parties. Booking.com was the big one at the time, the Expedia Group, and Airbnb was slowly but surely trying to get a bit of traction in the UK. And then 2016 came along, and that is where Boostly sort of came to fruition. I was at a local tourism meeting in our area, and it was about 100 hosts from the Scarborough and the Whitby, the Yorkshire coast. And the meeting was about marketing. The meeting was about the rise of the OTAs, about the frustration, about how hosts were feeling let down and they didn't feel like they had any communication with them. And I just put my hand up and I said, "Well, what are you doing to market your own business?" And everybody looked at me with a blank expression. And I was saying, "What about Facebook? What about email?" And they just, again, blankly. So, maybe it was the soccer coach in me or what, but I just said, I'm more than happy to show anybody how what I'm doing at the farm. This is the results we're getting. This is what we're doing. Who would be up for it? And five people put their hand up, and they were the first five people that I ever taught. And they came up to the farm one evening after we finished the evening meal, and I showed them a few things. And yeah, I caught the bug. I really do like helping people, and that was the start. And from there on in, I created a Facebook group. I shared it with everybody in our local area. I said, "Hey, this is where I'm going to be giving help and advice in every single day." That's called the hospitality community, and that's still here to this day. And when you put someone on Facebook, the word of mouth spreads. And
Yeah.
we had people wanting to join in from further afield in the UK. We had people from Spain and France wanting to join. And then before I knew it, America and Australia. And so it got to a point by the end of 2016, there was 1,000 people in the group, and my inbox was littered on a day-to-day basis. So I'm like, well, how do I do this? How do I do Y? How do I do Z? And I was like, I'm spending so much time answering these questions in the inbox. I'm being pulled away from the granary, from the
Yeah.
family business. And it was at that point I read Tim Ferriss's book called The 4 Hour Work Week. And it changed everything to me. It introduced me to the power of delegating, to the power of outsourcing. Up to that point, I was very, very stubbornly like to do everything myself. And
Mm.
I was able to pretty much sack myself from the family business. We had got to the point where we were ready to exit, ready to sell, ready to retire my parents, which was great. And so I could put more time into what became Boostly. It was actually my wife who gave me the name and the idea. And I started off by doing coaching and one on one work. And then slowly but surely over the last 7 years, it has evolved into basically being a direct booking solution. So the coaching and the training. So I like to call it the tools, the tactics, the training, and the confidence for direct bookings. The tools is websites, which we're going to talk about. The tactics and the training is the teaching that we do. And then the
Mhm.
confidence is the community. So yeah, it's been a crazy 7 years. It's been a fantastic last 7 years. And Boostly's now we've got just shy of 2,000 clients and members from around the world. We work in every niche, in every country, and every vertical in this world of hospitality. And yeah, I'm loving every minute of it and every conversation. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, that's great. I had heard pieces of that story, but I'd never actually heard the whole story of kind of how Boostly came to be. And part of the reason that I love having this conversation with you and kind of hearing all of that is because as we're looking for solutions for a business, and the point of the podcast is to give people an opportunity to really get educated about the different companies and solutions that are out there. When we decide on a particular company or product to use, we're basically bringing like a partner into our business. And so I really believe we're in a people and relationships driven industry. That's really what hospitality is. So when we partner with Boostly or any of the other companies that are out there, it's really great to know the people behind those companies and kind of the stories behind those. I always like to lay that as the foundation. So I love that. Thank you so much for kind of sharing that background and that story. So one of the things that comes to mind, and again, like I said, you've done such a great job kind of putting this word out and educating. And there's been more and more different options and ways that people can create a direct booking solution. And we've even seen a lot of property management softwares begin to, well, not begin, some of them have had them for a while, but have solutions within those platforms where people can make a direct booking website. But what are some of the pros and cons with having one kind of baked in your software versus more of a standalone website solution like what Boostly is? Unpack that just a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're right. Property management softwares, PMSs, they offer a free website solution. And I don't know which one was the first to do it, but obviously when they first started to do it, everybody else was like, oh, hang on a second, they're offering it. We need to as well. And the pro is that if you're just getting started and you are fresh to this world, having a free website is a fantastic solution. But as you dig into it, you'll realize it is very limited. At the end of the day, and every PMS admits this, I'm not calling anyone out, but it's just a glorified landing page. That is all. It doesn't have any benefits to it in terms of SEO, Google seeing it, the tools that you can do to it. It's very extremely limited. And I like to think that Boostly comes into your world at level 2 or level 3. I say that having a business is like a video game. And you start off at level 1 and you're scrappy and you'll just take everything you can for free. But when you get to level 2, level 3, level 4 in your business journey to going on to defeating the head big boss or whoever that may be, we come into it quite nicely to take you along that journey. And when you have your own standalone website, you get more power, you get more tools, and you can do a lot more things when it comes to SEO and being visible. The best reason that I will give to anybody why to not have a free PMS website is actually happened to us this week. And we're having a conversation with a prospect, a host who was over in America. He was with one of the PMSs and he had just left. And he was up to that point like a sworn advocate of never having your own website. He was like, listen, PMS, free website, I don't need it. He came back to us and he was, you know what, Mark, you were right. And this is the reason why is that when he left his PMS, I'm not going to say which PMS it was with, and he moved to another one, he lost his whole website that he built with him. Every word, every copy, every image, everything he had lost within it. So he had to start all over again. So when you have your own standalone service, you will never ever lose all of the good work that you create. All you need to basically do is just switch out the PMS that you have in the in the back end. And that's, I think, for me, out of everything that I can talk about, the most simplest way to explain it is that is the one. I'm all for talking about never build your house on someone else's land. And I talk about that in terms of Airbnb and where your bookings are coming from, but it also is very true to where the core hub of your marketing, the main brand building part of your whole business is your website, because that is the first port of call when somebody's coming to check you out. And if you spend all that time building it and you lose it by literally switching to PMS, then it's not a very nice start to have.
Yeah, to have to kinda go back to square one.
Yeah.
So, I wanna go back to something that I heard you say, and that's that level 1, when you're first getting started, having that kinda baked in solution in your PMS is really easy. But so kind of walk me through, educate us a little bit on what does it actually look like to get started with Boostly? Because I think even for me as a host myself, that like I think within my mind I get thinking and imagining what it's going to be like, and potentially what I'm imagining is actually harder than it actually is, or I don't really understand, and sometimes just the effort of taking the time to get educated becomes the barrier that like paralyzes me into not doing anything. So, like
No, I
help me and potentially others, like, give us a little understanding of what it actually looks like to start a website through Boostly.
Yeah, no, well, with that analysis paralysis, the overwhelm is 100% there, and it's present in so many people that I talk to. I've been doing this for 7 years now. I've been very fortunate to appear on many podcasts and speak in clubhouse rooms and go and speak at events and chat to people, as well as having the Boostly community as well. And that that overwhelm is a big key factor. And this is why with Boostly, we say we give you the tools, the tactics, the training, but the confidence to do this as well. So to unpack it all, the tools is the website. So what does it look like to work with Boostly? Well, first and foremost, we are 100% done for you solution. So when you come on board with us, we're not saying, hey, here's you go, off you go, all the best with your website. When you work with us, you get a personalized project manager, you have an onboarding call. And the cool thing about the onboarding call is that we can just get 3 or 4 pieces of information from you. And that's all we need to build out the first part of your draft of your website.
Mm,
Then, once the first draft is done, we jump on a Zoom call with you or we record a Loom, whatever works best within your time. And we go, this is what we've done. And then you go, I love that. I hate that. Let's change that. Let's tweak that, X, Y, and Z. And then by the second or the third draft, we're ready to go live. All in all, from onboarding to live date takes up to 6 weeks.
okay.
And the reason why we can do it in such a short space of time is thanks to the new AI technology, thanks to these tools that we've built in the back end. And most importantly, and I think this is our unique selling point, is the integrations that we have built into the PMS softwares. So integration just basically means we can take all of the information that is already on your PMS and we scrape it and bring it into your direct booking website. There
Oh,
are only 2 other companies in the whole world who have these integrations, and we're the only one that has up to 17. We are pushing up to 20 now. And the reason why we do that is, again, we don't want to be just tied to 1 or 2 PMS partners. We want to be with everybody because, again, we know how often hosts from property 1 to property 20, how often they change their PMS providers. They go from bounce one to one to the other. So we want to say, hey, doesn't matter who you're with, we can move you from A to B because, again, we've got all of your information on your site. All you need to do, we can just move you easy from A to B. So because of everything that we've built and everything that we've done, and again, it's a lot of trial and error. This we've gone from so many different variations of collecting information from our members and from our clients. We've struck gold with what we've currently have, which is amazing. So once the website is live, this is the key part because every other website designer that's out there will go, here's your website, all the best. And this is where it comes to the tools, the tactics, the training, but the confidence. So tactics, what we instantly do then is we basically plug you into our e-learning platform. So we've got over 80 hours worth of content in the back end. It's called the Boostly Academy. And there's training videos on how to do Facebook, how to post on Instagram, how to actually drive traffic to your website, how to set up email marketing, all those cool things. And even then, once you're in there, if you're not confident with emails, we've actually got templates for you. So this is
okay.
an email template that you can do. You can send it out to somebody. So whether you're approaching a business because you want to get into the medium term rental world, or even if you want to just send an email out to a past guest to get them to do another booking, we've got all these templates that you can just plug and play with. And then the confidence is the one that I love because you then get embedded into our community. And the Boostly community has got over 10,000 years worth of collective experience in this world of hospitality and short term rentals. So, through Facebook groups and WhatsApp chats, you can come into our world, you can ask a question and get an answer from somebody who is experienced, qualified, and knows what they're talking about, which is great. So, when you come into the world, it's not just a case of you get a website, all the best. You get brought into the community, you get all the training, you get all the templates. And when you've got a website that you can send somebody to, you're confident that it's going to turn a looker into a booker.
And all of that is included. Like,
All of
that's
that's
not
included. Yeah, all of that's
okay.
included. There's no additional costs. Basically, the way that the pricing works, and I've always wanted to do this as fair as possible, because it doesn't matter if you've got property one or how many properties you've got. So to start off with, the price is, and I'm going to do it in UK pounds, but you can use a currency converter. So 1,500 UK pounds for one property, and then we just scale up. So it's £170 for every property that you've got.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the
On
price
top
that you pay to get access to it. Yeah, so on top of that. And then the only other cost is the monthly fee, which is £25, which is about $30. And that just keeps the lights on. It just keeps things ticking along in the background. So we keep it as cost effective as possible because then we can keep it fair for all.
okay. Well, you know what? The transparency with the pricing is great. I know I always appreciate companies that are transparent with their pricing. And so, yeah, thank you. I think that's really helpful. So, well, and that kind of almost answers the next question I was going to ask you because always it's worth asking people. There's this whole spectrum, whether you only have, you're like brand new and you only have one property, maybe you're starting to co host and so you're kind of in charge of a handful of properties, or you're a full blown property manager. There's some companies and some solutions that have kind of a sweet spot for where people are a best fit for that solution or that company. So, I mean, it sounds like Boostly can go from 1 to however many. I mean, educate us there. Is there any considerations on that?
Yeah, so basically, I feel, and again, I've done a lot of deep dive over this over the last a year, I would say. And I've looked at, okay, so we've got just shy of 2,000 members that have signed up. We've got over 7,000 people within the Facebook group. There's 17,000 people on the email list and everywhere else in between. So I went to look at all of the data that we've got. And I was like, okay, so who is the 80% of our members? And where really do they fit in? So what 20% of actions bring 80% of results? Okay, so out of all of our members that we've got, what's the core people that we have inside? And what it really boiled down to is we fit really nicely and we help the people the best who are in that 1 to 20, 21 properties. That's where the
Oh,
majority of our people are. And it's not to say that if you've got 22 properties or 23 properties and you're watching this, and you're like, well, Boostly can't help us. We can 100% can. But I feel like our best work is done between that 1 to 21 property mark. And like I say, I feel like if you haven't had a season yet, so if you haven't had and I class a season as April to November in the northern hemisphere.
yeah.
If you haven't had a season yet, then you're not ready for us because you've got to feel the pain point. So you've got to feel the pain of dealing with Airbnb, having those guests, and just once you've got that out the way, I feel like that's when you're ready for us. If you've not got any properties, we're not ready for you. We
Yeah.
work best when you've got one property, you've had a season under your belt, and you felt the pain point of doing this without any guidance and help and support. And that's where we really, I feel personally that that's where we fit nicely.
That's awesome. Thank you. I mean, literally, that's super helpful for people trying to decide with all these choices. Like, I don't even know, like, who would
Mm.
actually be a good fit for me. So, another thing, and I'm going to pick your brain a little bit because of all the years of experience that you've had. And as you said, 7,000 people in your groups and that. What do you feel like you're seeing as some of the biggest mistakes that people are making in their like business online presence? Like, what would you kind
Yeah.
of some tips there?
So the thing that I see from everybody in this industry, and when I say everybody, let's just say 99% of people, is that they are trying to appeal to everybody.
Oh,
And when you appeal to everybody, you appeal to nobody. And I feel like in the terms of hospitality, and people come into this from other industries, right? And there's the amount of people who come up to me and say, the things that you talk about are so simple. The things that you talk about, I've done in other industries, but I just don't apply it to this. And I've always sort of wondered why. And at the end of the day, when it comes to it, doesn't matter if you've got one property, if you've got 10, there's only a certain amount of heads on beds that you can fit. You've got one property, and if you've got minimum night stays of 7 nights, then technically you've only got to get 50 bookings, give or take 2 weeks for like maintenance or whatever. So that's 50 bookings. That's 50 people to go, yep, sound, I'll book with you. And so what I always say to people is that make sure you find your niche. Make sure that you find your avatar, your guest avatar, your ideal guest, and just double down on it, whatever that may be. Because again, the biggest mistake that I see, and I say to them, okay, so somebody comes to me and they go, Mark, my calendar's bare for the next 4 months. I can't attract bookings, yada, yada. I say, okay, so who's your ideal guest? Who's your avatar? And they go, well, anybody's going to give me money. And I go, well, that's not the answer. And if they were to refine their avatar, refine their ideal guest, really double down on their niche, everybody does so much better when you do that because it just makes it so much easier. So the marketing that you do, the copy on your website, the social media posts that you do, and even like the guests that you attract, everybody that comes to stay with you knows exactly who you are and exactly what you're about. So that is by far the bigger mistake that I see. And that's one of the main reasons in the book that I put out, the Book Direct Playbook. It's the first chapter of help that we talk about is that because I feel like it's the most important thing to for people to focus on.
Yeah. I actually have a copy of that book. It was one of the first things I read that I was like, "Oh, I learned a ton." So, thank you for the effort that you put into that. And now the kind of like the final question of the standard part here. As the founder of Boostly, I am curious what your favorite feature of Boostly is. Like when you or what are you like most proud of or what's like that hidden feature that you're like, "Man, people don't realize how just cool this is."
Honestly, it's the community. I absolutely adore the community that we have behind the scenes because at the end of the day, Boostly isn't me and Mark Simpson isn't Boostly. Boostly is a collective, whether it is the members of staff that we have that are helping people or whether it is the members that power it behind the scenes. The amount of times that I log onto Facebook and I come into the Facebook group and I see people that are posting motivational posts from Gurr, for example, who's part of the Hospitable Host book with us. And whether it is Liam who's stepping up and helping a host, or if there's a question and I see so somebody who has been part of the group for years who comes in and helps, I absolutely love to see the community just absolutely thrive behind the scenes. There's no competitiveness, there's no bitching, there's no moaning. It's a collective group of people who are all on the same mission, which is we want to build a business and grow a business that's not reliant on Airbnb and booking.com. And that is by far my favorite. And to the point now where, several years on, there's members of the community who are now putting themselves up above the parapet and they are becoming coaches themselves or running masterminds. Or we've got somebody from the UK, Paul Anderson, again, who's part of the Hospitable Host book, who is doing Instagram training. And to see them grow, who have started within Boostly and now seeing them grow, and I can push and I can promote and shout out about them, is by far my favorite thing.
I love that. I do. Thank you so much, Mark. You really I've heard you on other podcasts and speaking about different things, but I really liked the opportunity to have you really educate us a little bit more thoroughly on Boostly and kind of who it's good for and what kind of the meat and potatoes of Boostly is. And this is great. One of the things that Mark has been willing to do for us and for the listeners is people who, well, first of all, tell us how we can find you, Mark. How can people find you and Boostly?
So the easiest thing to do is just go to boostly.co.uk. Really important. Don't go to .com because some other company stole my .com years ago. So it's boostly.co.uk. Go to
Okay.
there and you can find out how you can book a call with the team and yeah, go down that route. So yeah, please do.
That's great. That's great. And so for the STR Hub listeners, anybody who reaches out to Boostly and mentions that they listen to the Short Term Rental Show, the podcast here, they're going to give you a 5% discount on that initial sign up fee. So that is great, Mark. We
My
really appreciate that.
My absolute pleasure. And I
Yeah.
just want to say, I love the idea. I think it's a fantastic idea. I think it's something that this industry needs. And I'm really happy that Boostly is part of and on listed on SDR Hub. So yeah, please, I just want to say thank you very much for creating this. I think it's a fantastic idea and I'm pushing so many people to it as well.
Well, thank you. I certainly do appreciate that. And one other thing before we wrap up the show, we have kind of some bonus content that Mark has put together for us. So, as a host myself, when I'm trying to find the right companies or solutions for my business, I always have wanted to be able to have kind of a little sneak peek or the ability to kind of see what it looks like actually inside. And so, when I invited Mark to come on the show, I explained that to him and said, it would be so great. I would just love that. So, he's taken the time to record a Loom video for us. That's actually where he's going to take us into the Boostly platform and show us accomplishing a couple things in there and really give you a sense of what it would look like if you were a Boostly user. I think that's brilliant. I'm so thankful for that. And we'll make sure we attach that to the show notes. This whole episode will also be put on the STR Hub YouTube channel. So, and then I'm sure we'll find other ways to get bits and bobs of it on social media and over there on the strhub.com website as well. So, thank you so much, Mark. I really appreciate it. And definitely, if you're in the mix of considering and looking for a direct booking solution, now you know a little bit more about Boostly and you can decide if potentially it's a good fit for you. So, thank you so much again, Mark. Appreciate you being in with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.